All right, don't adjust your computer monitors or cell phones, whatever you're watching the show on. You are seeing the very handsome Alex Weghorn and myself, Martin Foster. You're watching AM Sports. And in this episode, we're going to talk some UFC 199, give a little bit of recap, talk about some of the upsets and surprises overall for the night. We'll also talk about Ariel Helwani, some big news out of that broke last night. And finally, we'll talk Brock Lesnar, who it was announced yesterday, actually via Ariel Helwani, and then eventually UFC, that he'll be making his return. So, Alex, what's going on, man? Were you able to watch did you order the pay-per-view last night?
No, I do not order pay-per-views.
That's right, yeah.
I was actually at a bodybuilding competition last night. So,
that's right, yeah.
I had some friends that were competing in a couple of different divisions last night. So I went over and went up to Tampa, supported them. But I did catch some of the news. I did see some of the replays and results of what happened. So, some big knockouts happening.
So what do you think about Michael Bisping winning? So what I've been doing, what I started last week and what I'm going to start doing every Sunday for the AM Sports website is I'm going to write a good, bad, and the ugly for the week. Right? Just a couple topics, just some quick thoughts, just get some more content up. And for last week and this week, because I try to stay with whatever's current, whatever's happening right now. So it's been NBA and UFC. So for the UFC, for their portion of the good, bad, ugly on that section, there's it was all about last night, and of course Michael Bisping. So I put Michael Bisping, depending on how you look at it, as something that's considered good. At 37, he finally wins his first title at 37. But what are your thoughts on that?
Definitely somebody who was, depending on your opinion of him, and the way he fights, he was due. This was somebody who had obviously been in the UFC for a while, 10 years, and had never gotten that spot. He was one of those gatekeepers, and just one of those guys that you had to get to the next level. And it was tough sort of to see a guy be in that position where he was so close so many times. Yeah. And then for whatever reason he got chosen over, or something derailed him. So it was just a matter of time, and for all we know, it was just, if you believe in fate, might have been one of those things where it just was not his time yet. So either way, he took advantage of the opportunity that was given to him, and now we got to see if he defends it. So you're a lot of people say you're not a champ until you have to defend it, until you successfully defend it. Something that Luke Rockhold tried to do, something that Holly Holm tried to do, unsuccessfully. And so that's the real test of a champion's medal, is making sure they keep what they feel is theirs. So we'll see how things go. I would be very surprised if his first title defense was not in England. I would have to guess that as sort of a tip of the cap to him, they would give him that option, and he would just almost assuredly take advantage of that, saying yes to whoever they put in front of him. Who that I don't know yet. I haven't really had a chance to go over.
Well, even if it was announced, there's been so many other things going on in UFC right now, which we'll get to in a few minutes. But with Michael Bisping, because you and I are always talking about gatekeepers of the weight divisions. Yeah, Michael Bisping was truly, he and Uriah Faber were the two definitions of that of the gatekeeper. However, of course, Michael Bisping now winning the title, he's kind of shut off that label. Whenever I think of Michael Bisping or to see his name, I always just think about that fight against Dan Henderson like 5 or 6 years ago. I think it might have been at UFC 100 when it was just a vicious knockout where he was knocked out by Dan Henderson, and that's always just kind of that's etched in my mind. So I talked about the good, bad, ugly portion of the website that I started doing. Michael Bisping is being good as since he won his title at the age of 37. On that same note, for the bad portion, I put Luke Rockhold losing because I was kind of hoping to see him have a nice little run as the champ, just because overall in the UFC, it seems like, and I'm not even sure how many title switches there have been, but it just seems like there's been a lot of one and done champs lately, where the champion loses it in their first defense, and it's the belt just constantly switching hands. So, what do you think about that?
I think it's good for the sport.
Yeah.
I think it helps to have that turnover every once in a while. And again, that just might be the. I mean, it's kind of weird. You can't really predict how it's going to go. There are so many variables that go into championships, be it with teams or an individual sport.
Yeah.
So, to me, it's really, really hard to definitely say, oh, well, this is happening for a particular reason in the UFC, or this is happening for a particular reason in a different league or promotion or sport, what have you. So, I think it is good to have some turnover every once in a while, but I think it's better for the sport and for the fans if there's more turnover in championships in sports that have longer seasons. Let me explain. If you have a baseball season that's 162 games, and you don't determine who wins the league until the very end, so that's a long time invested. You have that team who wins, and then you start over the next year. And if you do another 162 teams and the same team wins over and over and over again, then you get to the point where it's boring. With an individual sport and specifically a sport like MMA, there's so many events that are going on.
Yeah.
But a title is determined or defended usually multiple times in 1 year. So even if you have a champion, a new champion, let's say Michael Bisping just won the championship June 4th. Let's say he has won maybe 2 opportunities to defend his championship the rest of this year. So within a 6-month period, he's already fought a title fight 3 times.
Yeah.
So let's say he gets to next June and he keeps on fighting every 3-4 months. We see a couple title defenses, but then he loses his 5th or 6th title fight. So we've now successfully had a champion for about a year. We've seen him fight and win. The championship, he has now defended it. And, okay, cool, we've seen it. Time to move on type deal.
Yeah.
And that's just within 1 year. So I think that even if somebody like Demetrius Johnson, who has been the one and only champ in the flyweight division for the UFC, again, he's fighting people that are put in front of him. You cannot control your opponent for the most part. The majority of the time, you can't control who's put in front of you. So, I mean, he just keeps on rolling through people. And honestly, I mean, he may be listed as the 2nd or 3rd. Let me check the rankings real quick.
I think it might actually be John Jones, I think, is still the number 1 pound for pound. But
it's first. Yeah, John Jones is first.
Yeah,
yeah, DJ is 2nd. He may be listed as a 2nd pound for pound fighter, but I mean, really, are you buying a pay-per-view because Demetrius Johnson is fighting?
Nah, people still gonna buy it.
No, it depends on who else is on that card.
So you always need those headliners and
so for a situation like that, it would be better if we had a little bit more turnover.
Yeah.
It's good for the history books, and it makes a big deal for when somebody does finally lose or when they retire and a record is set, and now you have to wait until somebody else has that opportunity to break it. But
yeah.
Are you buying a pay-per-view because DJ's on the headliner?
No.
Nah.
Hey, your haircut's looking very fresh, by the way. That looks, I could tell, man. So you still
Two
going
days
to
ago.
You still
2
going
days.
to Lex the barber? Is that where you're still going?
Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to the same place, but Lex the barber no longer works at that establishment.
Ah,
So, so no, actually, I was doing when I went to see Lex, he was good about keeping the facial hair on fleek, as the kids say nowadays, I believe.
nice.
No, but actually, Mick Ferrari is the one who's been doing my haircuts since 4 years ago, last 4 years, something like that. So he is the official hair care provider.
I had one of those in Dayton, and I miss her so much, man. She was awesome at cutting hair, Eric.
Yeah,
man.
once you get one, that's good. You
Yeah, dude, it was she was perfect.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on, we talked about Luke Rockhold and Michael Bisping.
Yeah.
Just give some quick thoughts on Uriah Faber. So he lost the fight, but he's going to maintain that hold that title as the gatekeeper. So
you're exactly right. I mean, I don't foresee anybody else, and we kind of get into the same situation. I was just talking about Demetrius Johnson. Again,
Yeah.
you look at who else is in the bantamweight division. It's a little bit different because they've had definitely a lot more movement recently.
Yeah.
Than in the flyweight division. So you have TJ Dillashaw, who's had the championship. If you're looking top 5, you're looking at Dillashaw, Faber, Assunção, Caraway, and McDonald. And let's see.
And Cruz just beat Dillashaw, right? Like that's who he beat for the title, I thought.
Yeah, that's who he got the title from. Then he defended it against Faber. Caraway and McDonald both were not in the top 5 until very recently. So you're getting a little bit more new blood at the top of the division. So we'll see how those guys do when they get their chance against Dominic, because sort of, again, like Demetrius Johnson, with Cruz fighting the way he is, I really don't see him losing until, well, actually, no. He's going to have to give up the belt because in about 2 days he's going to have another ACL tear, and he's going to be gone for another 9 to 12 months.
I shouldn't laugh.
So no, but I mean, I am incredibly surprised with Dominic Cruz. I did have him beating Faber in this fight. I am very surprised with how well he has done coming back from all of those injuries, his knee issues, and he hasn't come back and won. He has come back and absolutely dominated.
Yeah, man, he's owning it right now. So, he's really kicking ass. What was your prediction? Yeah. What was your prediction for Rockhold Bisping?
No, I actually had picked Rockhold.
Yeah, I did too, but
it's kind of interesting because so 3 days before Stipe Miocic beat Fabricio Verdum,
right,
we interviewed him on Knockout Radio. 3 days before Michael Bisping beat Luke Rockhold, we interviewed him on Knockout Radio. So I'm seeing a trend. And I think that anybody who gets a title shot and is a challenger, if they want to win, I think they should try to get in touch and do an interview. No, honestly, on a serious note, I did have Rockhold. I mean, you look at what the guy's done. He hasn't been in the UFC for very long,
right?
And
he's gifted, man. He's talented.
Absolutely. I'm gonna bring up his wiki page, but just to make sure I get these right. So in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 UFC fights now. 1, 2, 3, 4 of them have been of the night performances. So he's an exciting fighter too. He had a knockout of the night, 2 performances of the nights, and then a fight of the night when he beat Weidman.
Yeah.
So he's kind of a big deal. He's done very well. This is only his second loss in the UFC. He's 5-2 now. So he was and then if you actually look back beforehand, before he was in the UFC and he was in Strikeforce, his last 3 fights in Strikeforce were when he won the Strikeforce middleweight belt, and then he defended it twice.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's used to fighting at the top levels of whatever the promotion and succeeding in dealing with the pressure, because even though Strikeforce was Strikeforce, and it's not comparable to UFC talent, the bottom line is when he was fighting for the title and defending the title, he'd never fought in a larger fight in his life. So when it comes to the ability to deal with the pressure is the same, because it's the most important fight of your life at the time. So
right,
he's definitely a very capable fighter, and I think he will be in the top of the division for a while. I won't say he's going to be a gatekeeper, because I wouldn't put it past him being the champ again at some point.
Absolutely. I think he'll regain that title at some point. So, kind of switching gears, I want to move on to Brock Lesnar. So, I'm actually excited about his return, man. He's entertaining to watch. He's always been talented, he's just raw. He just, obviously he needed to refine his skills, but I'll be interested to see who his opponent for that card is. But,
obviously, there's been a little bit of rumor, gossip, hearsay. I will say that I think it would be a great fight. I don't know necessarily, and because I'm trying to figure out, I'm trying to convince myself. I'm trying to figure out how Lesnar would come back and deal with the actual contact of MMA against some of these guys. They all hit hard. True.
Yeah. One punch power, man.
And the bottom line is, everybody knows where his weakness would lie. Mm-hmm. If you get a gut shot on him, he most likely will feel it more than if you just straight shot right to the head. He's a tough son of a gun and a freakish athlete. Everybody knows that. But we saw with his loss to Alistair Overeem, when he was coming back from his diverticulitis, that if you get him right in the right spot, he'll fold up. Because for all intents and purposes, that wasn't the hardest hit that he has ever taken. So,
I would say Cain Velasquez probably holds that.
Yeah, well, I don't know, because Shane Carwin, and this is who I like actually as this fight. Now, granted, Shane Carwin, not an active fighter.
Yeah.
Neither was Brock.
Yeah, so that would make sense, and it would seem they can marry those guys up.
Fight. It was a very close fight. It was a great fight,
and people would pay to see that. Like that'd be good. Mm-hmm. That'd be. I don't know if it'll headline that UFC pay-per-view, but it'll certainly be highlighted. That'll be a must-watch fight.
No, that might be a co-main event. It wouldn't be a headliner because it's not a championship.
Oh, and it's at UFC. Is it coming back for UFC 200 or UFC 202? I don't
know if they announced it. I don't know if they announced the event. Since they don't have an opponent for him. Let me do some crack research real quick. Oh yeah, okay, well, 200.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to headline that because we have Jones Cormier.
2, yeah.
Yeah, 2 being the headline for that, but yeah, that'd be pretty cool to see. I'd like to see that Shane Carwin fight, and
if I'm on the wiki page right now, and if what is on there stands, I'm actually going to be somewhat upset because Brock Lesnar has not fought in the UFC since what, 2011?
Has it been that long? Wow.
I think. I'm double checking.
Well,
Checking. Yeah, December 30th of 2011.
All right, so basically 2012. So, but still, that's so 4.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's a long layoff, especially for someone in their 30s. But of course, I mean, he's an athlete, and I'm sure he stayed in shape. But of course,
yeah,
fighting
he's
shape.
38 years old, but pro wrestling shape is one thing. He's got to be in shape he's got to make 265.
Yeah, he's probably around 290 right now, man. Like,
yeah, he's got to make weight, and UFC 200 is in what, 2 weeks?
It'll be in July.
200 is July 9th. Wait, we just had 199, and there's that long in between pay-per-views.
Hey, don't worry, there'll be like 5 different fight nights in between, and
no, there are, but it just surprises me, even with the other events, that they would go a full month and a half at 6 weeks between pay-per-views.
I'm not surprised by that. Yeah, it seems like they're going to try to build that one up more though, because it's UFC 200, and
how do you build that card up more though?
But you know what? I don't want to get too excited about that card, because it seems like every big UFC card in recent years, or in the past year, I don't want to jinx them, but something always happens. So
injury bug will always strike.
Actually, Michael Bisping last night. So I mean, he was the replacement. So,
but you look at that card. Okay, sorry, we actually got off topic. Going back to Brock Lesnar real quick.
Yeah.
Brock has not fought since the end of 2011. As you said, 4.5 years.
Yeah.
That is listed as the co-main event as of right now. Now, the problem I have with that is Miesha Tate is fighting Amanda Nunes.
Yeah.
Never, in my opinion, never should a championship fight be placed below a non-championship fight on a card.
I agree.
You have Daniel Cormier versus John Jones, so champion versus interim champion, so actual champion versus fake champion. And then you have Miesha Tate, Amanda Nunes. That should be your main co-main. At best, Brock Lesnar versus that really, really bad dude known as TBD. That fight should be third from the top. But, I mean, you look at that entire card. Jose Aldo, Frankie Edgar, Cain Velasquez, Travis Brown, Kat Zingano, Giuliani Pena. I mean, the way I see this, you look at your if it's a pay-per-view, which it is, you have your top 5 fights right there. Your the main event of the prelims should be Zingano Pena.
Brock Lesnar bring in a lot of casual fans, so and that's probably why they threw him on that card. So Antonio Pagan, thanks for joining. And the Reckless one, that's right. You've watched this before. So we're talking some UFC 199. So yeah, with Brock Lesnar, that it's just, I think that's just it'll obviously bring in some more. It is crazy, but it'll bring in a lot of pay-per-view draws, and I will see how that goes. But yeah, I like the Shane Carwin idea, because it's like both those guys are. Yeah, those guys are on an equal playing field right now. They're both, like you said, they're not active fighters, so it'd be good kind of see
They're not active fighters, but when you go back and look at Lesnar Carwin, it's stacked right now. That's the problem.
Yeah, we've seen in recent UFC history that, I mean, even last night, for example, it was supposed to be Rockhold Weidman. And then what was it, Alex? Like 2 weeks ago or whenever, maybe a little bit more than that. But of course, Weidman got hurt and
got injured. Yeah,
and look, and of course he gets the knockout win last night.
But if you go back to Lesnar Carwin 1, Lesnar should have lost that fight.
Yeah,
Carwin was beating Lesnar's ass in the first round. It should have been stopped in the first round, late in the first round. It did not. And Lesnar showed that he can actually be an MMA fighter, because the amount of a beating that he took. If you look at Carwin's fist, it actually does look like a lunchbox, a metal lunchbox.
Yeah.
It's that big. I mean, he is no joke. And for him to be able to withstand the storm, be able to come back and then end up finishing Carwin in the second round showed so much. And that I never respected Lesnar's ability in MMA up till that point.
Yeah.
Even with just his abilities as an athlete, I still didn't really feel that he was going to be successful as an MMA fighter, because we saw early with the I think it was the first time he fought Mir. He was
winning that fight, and he left himself exposed. Mir just pounced on him, kind of like Misha Tate with Holly Holm, just kind of pounced on that opening, and then Mir wins by submission. But then, of course, he paid the price in the second go around between the two. Were
right, yeah,
it is bad that that
going
disease.
Back to his athletic ability and his ability to learn. An athlete has to be able to adjust. That's that we saw that with the Carwin fight. We saw that with Lesnar Mir too, and being able to learn and adjust and make yourself better quickly, and not let it, like a baseball player, you have to forget the last at bat.
Yeah.
Or a pitcher, you have to forget your last bad pitch and be able to make adjustments on the fly. So, and we saw that.
All right, for our final topic, man, I just want to talk about Ariel Helwani, because that's some big time news, man. The guy's a five-time reigning MMA Journalist of the Year, and we kind of talked pre-show about him. He was banned, escorted out of the event last night. They threw him out, and I think it was he was escorted out by one of the Zuffa brothers.
Fertitta, Frank or Lorenzo?
Yeah. So it's just crazy, man. So thanks to Alex Powers for joining. We're just talking some UFC 199 and Ariel Helwani. Alex, I actually emailed Ariel Helwani this morning, like, hey, man, since you're not doing anything, you should come on our show. We're going to be talking some mixed martial arts. But no, I didn't do that, man. I'm joking. But
hey, since you're not otherwise occupied.
I'm joking. I didn't do that. But yeah, man, he's banned from like UFC for the time. I mean, of course, maybe they can come back and rescind that decision. But yeah, man, what are your thoughts on that, man? 'Cause it just seems like he's such a like when I watch NBA games and baseball games, there's just certain reporters that have just become kind of like a staple. You know, like they're just like they're
until recently the SEC broadcast on CBS. You could always count Vern Lundquist there.
Yeah, Vern Lundquist. Yeah,
that's a good example, because I mean he was just always there. Okay, Alex, why do you think it's a good PR move by the UFC? Okay, all right, there we go. I just wanted to double check. Yeah, I mean, somebody who does have a lot of followers. I mean, a lot of people think that it was that Helwani is very good at his job, and that's a good assessment, because he is. He's obviously one of, if not the best.
Yeah.
As you said, 5-time reigning MMA Journalist of the Year. He was getting his information from somewhere.
Yeah, and we talked about that because there's a basketball, and I talked about the basketball writer that I follow, Adrian Wojnarowski from Yahoo, and it's like he knows information before the rest of the league knows. And it seemed like, hey, welcome, JT. So, like, for example, like when you watch the NBA draft, he's tweeting out picks before, and kind of like Mike Mayock used to do that with the NFL draft. It is about who you know. Yeah, a couple hours before Brock Lesnar announcement was made, and before Diaz McGregor 2 was made, Ariel Helwani was the one tweeting that stuff out. Yeah, he was on it. So, and this is hours before it was officially announced.
Yeah.
So, and of course, that had something to do with it, his being escorted. But
it's a shame though, because you think about it, and yes, he tweeted at 1:18 a.m. this morning, said that, hey, when it comes down to it, that's his job. That's what he was getting paid to do. He wasn't doing anything unethical. in the sense of providing information that either wouldn't get out anyway, or it was just the fact that the UFC was upset that he was beating them to the punch of announcing their own stuff. So I can understand where they wouldn't want that to happen, because that's their stuff. I mean, that is, if you will, sort of like their intellectual property.
Yeah.
Those are the decisions, and they should be the ones that provide that information. They want to drive everything.
Yeah.
UFC, that's their brand. So since they had the power to do so, their way of addressing the situation was to remove him altogether and forever. So it is what it is. I mean, I'm sure he's going to stay with MMAfighting.com.
Yeah.
And continue to do his podcast, MMA Hour. Some people would definitely agree with you that it was a bitch move. But the bottom line is, it's their event, it's their news, it's their information, it's their promotion. So they have the ability to play God in that situation. Absolutely, it's money. It's all money. So. But there are other organizations for him to cover. He won't be able to get the same exposure with Bellator, World Series of Fighting. I don't know if he would try to expand to smaller arenas such as Titan FC, or maybe even start going more over to Asia to ONE FC. But there will be other opportunities. Certainly wish him the best. And it's going to be interesting to see how he recoups, and it's going to be interesting to see if there's any change at all to the UFC and coverage with the UFC, because this is also one of those things where if you are the new guy in on the block and you want to establish your dominance, you go and beat the crap out of the biggest, baddest person there type deal, to send a message. Is this the UFC also trying to send a message to everybody else saying, hey, look, we're not going to stand for anybody else doing this either. So
that's a good point.
So will it change the way the sport is covered, or at least the UFC is covered as well?
Yeah, that's a good question. And he, for whatever reason, like, he was working for Fox Sports 1 and he left them abruptly earlier this year. So there's like a
left them mutual agreement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I feel like there's more to the story as the point I'm trying to get. Yeah. So and of course over the next like 2 weeks, like no matter how, like it'll be exposed. More will come out, and but he's got a pretty good following on Twitter and everything like that. He's established himself. So wherever Ariel Helwani winds up, he'll
land on his feet.
Yeah, he'll land on his feet. So it was just crazy. When I read that this morning, I was like, holy crap, man! That was yesterday was a busy day for UFC. There was just so much that came out. In addition to UFC 199 and Michael Bisping winning the title, just between the Brock Lesnar announcement, UFC 202 with McGregor Diaz 2, and of course the Ariel Helwani announcement. There was just a lot going on, and there was something earlier, Alex, that we had talked about. I don't remember what it was, and you said, I haven't heard any news about it. And I remember thinking like some news probably did come out about it yesterday, but it was just got buried because of all the other top stories
stuff.
There's just so much. And then of course Muhammad Ali, who a boxer, but he still had a heavy influence on mixed martial arts. So it was just
on sports in general. I mean, in the culturally and socially as well, not just within sports either. So it's something that everybody has felt, and I would challenge almost anybody around, especially in the United States, at some point in time, everybody has said float like a butterfly, sting like a bee, at some point in time. one of the most quotable people ever. Very, very good about coming up with apropos quips, regardless of the situation. And everybody not only followed him out of the ring, but what he did in the ring was second to none. And
the original talker, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's a good point you make. The act of talking to promote fights, not just talking crap, but the actual ability to sell fights. And so this is very appropriate for MMA and the promotion of fights and the business side of it again, and being able to draw more people and get the fights that you want to get because of your ability to talk and do the things necessary outside of the ring and do the media, do the interviews and that type of stuff. So 2016 continues to be a bitch when it comes to taking celebrities and famous people. So we lost another great one, and this time it was the greatest.
So speaking of the greatest, Muhammad Ali, I actually wrote an article in Reckless One. If you could, just go to amsportsguys.com, check out the columns. I wrote a short article about Muhammad Ali. It's actually, I titled it The Latest Greatest, and just keeping with the rhyme in line with Muhammad Ali, because as we just discussed, he was known as a talker. It's a quick read. The whole column is maybe 300 words. Just some short thoughts that I had. So that's some other content that I posted. Also, every Sunday I post content. I started last Sunday, and I'll be posting some new content tonight called for the second week in a row. It's called The Good, the Bad, and Ugly. On our banner page, it's just labeled GBU, and I talk about some good, bad, and ugly, some good things, bad things, and some horrid things that happen in between basketball and MMA over the past week. So just some quick thoughts. So that's all the time we have today, everyone. I appreciate everyone for watching. If you want more, check out our website, amsportsguys.com. You could also follow us on Twitter at amsportsguys. You can subscribe to us on Blab, and every time we start a show, you'll automatically get notified whenever we start. And we talk a lot of UFC. We talk just a lot of, especially with UFC 200 coming up, and we'll probably talk more about that in the next couple weeks, especially with Brock Lesnar being added to that card. You can also check out our Facebook page. Just look for AM Sports with Alex and Martin, and our YouTube channel. Just go in the search window and just look for AM Sports with Alex and Martin. Subscribe to our channel. We have a lot of different videos on there. And I'm a big UFC fan, and so is Alex. So he's my MMA guy. So, yeah. So
we'll always have plenty of time to talk UFC and MMA. So make sure you join us and we'll get some talking in.
And Reckless One, I actually got to go do some stuff for work. We only plan to do this for 20 minutes today, but I think we're going on about 45 minutes right now. So, so I appreciate you watching, Reckless One. Everyone else watching, please continue to do so.
Jump in right quick. Per the Twitter machine, Broncos Aqib Talib reportedly shot at a Dallas nightclub. He was taken to the hospital. I just saw that.
And that's something we'll follow up on for the next episode, because it seems like there's a whole lot of athletes being involved in shootings, and Will Smith and now Aqib Talib and Sean Taylor from 10 years ago.
We'll touch on it at a later episode.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Thanks for watching. Take care.